Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for making the time to join us today. We're going to give everybody about a minute to get situated. We still see a lot of people coming in, so we'll get started here in about a minute. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning again. Thank you so much for joining us. I am really excited about the webinar today. This is one of my favorite webinars of the year where we get to talk to staffing leaders. Let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about winning strategies from SIA's best staffing firms to work for. Now, just some logistics before we get started. First of all, can't thank you guys enough. Thank you again. Your time is valuable, and we appreciate that you're choosing to spend it with us today. We love questions. Please send us questions throughout. You can do that using the Q&A panel in Zoom. We'll take questions throughout as we go through the webinar. We'll also save some of them through the end. So please feel free to ask questions. This is exactly what our panelists are here for. And don't worry about taking any notes or screenshots. This entire presentation, the recording from today, will be shared with everybody afterwards. So with that, why don't we get started? I am really excited to be joined by an incredible group of staffing leaders today from Alois Healthcare, Floyd Lee Locums, as well as Talent Burst. So we've got Scott Shelander, who's president and CEO of Alois Healthcare, Natasha, CEO and co-founder from Floyd Lee Locums, and Bali, who's the founder and COO of Talent Burst. My name is Pankaj. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the founders of Sense. And if you'll indulge me for 30 seconds, I'll just give you a quick brief about Sense. We started, like I said, about 8.5 years ago with this primary mission of building the first talent engagement platform that was designed specifically for the staffing industry. We've stayed really true to that mission. We serve today over 1,000 customers, all of which are staffing companies, engage nearly 100 million candidates every single year. And of that, 8 million people get hired using our platform. Over 75,000 recruiters use our platform every single day. That's the number of recruiters that are logging into our platform every single day. We work with some of the largest staffing companies in the US to companies that have 10 recruiters or 5 recruiters and 50 contractors. So we are very much living our dream of democratizing this technology platform so it can be used by multi-billion-dollar companies to what you would think of really startups or mom and pop shops, but essentially they can bring the same great culture, same great feature set that is available to an Adecco or a Manpower, but is also available to a really small company. We integrate with over 60 different applicant tracking systems and ecosystem partners. So whatever system of record that you have today, it's very likely that Sense engages and integrates with all of them. But enough about Sense. Let's start talking about our panelists, which is what this conversation today is really about. First up, we have Scott Shelander, CEO and President at Alois Healthcare. Scott, will you tell us a little bit more about you and your firm?
Sure. Thanks, Pankaj, for having us. We're appreciative. I'm humbled and blessed to represent Alois as the President and CEO of Alois Healthcare, which is the division of our parent company. We're a global technology and talent company that we deploy our services across. We're in, I think now, 8 different countries with different offices, and we've deployed talent to about 20 different countries. So again, our mission is pretty simple. We want to be the best partner for our clients and the best experience provider for our candidates, and really live by the core values. which I align with very closely. So personally, I'm a small town kid. I grew up in a town where I graduated with 70 some kids. So I had a really unique experience growing up. Had really strong parents who raised me with strong morals and hard work and discipline. So when I align with an organization like I did with Alois, and I align with their core values, there's a lot of easy matriculation within me personally to them. So everybody matters. We leave our titles at the door, especially when we talk and we meet and we engage with one another. We're not worried about titles at Alois. We're worried about our client. We're worried about the clinician. We're worried about making sure that the best talent and that the people that need the help get it at the end of the day. And so we work together in that mantra, and I can honestly say that we live that. Be performance driven. Again, we want to set standards. There's nothing wrong with setting high standards. As Ed Millett would say in the book, The Power of One More, that you're guaranteed to hit your standards, and you may not hit your goals, but you're guaranteed to hit your standards. So we want to be performance driven. We want to set the right standards. Being open and honest and direct. I think we live by this every single day. We have no problem speaking open and honestly with love and with affection, and not out of angst or trying to point fingers. We really just want to get problems solved. And being transparent. Again, you'll hear me talk a lot about data and a lot about using data from a transparency standpoint. So again, we can really get to the heart of what needs attention. Again, being inclusive, being acceptance of all. We pride ourselves on that, as well as doing the right thing. At the end of the day, there's no shortcuts to success. You can't cut your way to prosperity. We want to make sure that we execute every single day and do it the right way. And then at the end, again, when you combine that all together, is we're dedicated to being the experience and data-led organization, hyper-focused on the quality, technology, continuous improvement. We want to use our global scale. We want to use the resources that we have all across the globe, communicate, collectively collaborate, and make sure that we can execute the mission, and really do it in a way where we're very appreciative of all the individuals within the organization and outside the organization. And then just one final note is the Alois was founded in 2016 by our founders, Kindle Desai and Farah Wanda, and they chose the word Alois because it means warrior, right? So in the warrior spirit in founding Alois, it really was willing to take on the risk, willing to commit to the mission, and really to accomplish the mission, no matter the odds or the condition. And we can all speak to the odds and the condition of the marketplace over the last year, right? So we really embody that warrior spirit at Alois. You'll see us often doing the warrior pose, and really just getting everybody to buy into the mission and the understanding that the odds and sometimes the conditions are not right, but you gotta, as the true spirit of a warrior, you gotta fight through it. So again, honored to be here. Appreciate the invite, and looking forward to the conversation today.
Yeah, likewise. That's such a cool story. Thank you for sharing. Next up, we have Natasha. Natasha, I'm really thrilled to have you here. I think Sense has been sponsoring the Best Staffing Firms to Work For award for the past 5 years. And I know for the past 5 years, I've always seen your name up there. You guys are 4th year of being recognized as Best Staffing Firms to Work For, 5th consecutive year of winning the Best Staffing Firms to Temp For. So, I'm sure we'll get a little bit more of your secret sauce, but for the moment, if you can introduce yourself and the company, that'd be lovely.
Yes, thank you. Natasha Lee, co-founder, CEO of Floyd Lee Locums. We are a locums company, which means we specialize in the physician segment, and we send doctors where they're critically needed across the country. Based here in North Charleston, South Carolina. And we've been around for 7 years, but we made it really important to the organization that we focus on culture, which is why we're winning these awards. We just won Modern Healthcare Best Place to Work just this last week for the 2nd year in a row. And so we'll see the big reveal in October, but we're really excited about bringing a level of concierge service into the physician world and really focusing on giving doctors back. We feel like this helps us address the physician shortage because we're serving rural critical areas and giving doctors a better way to practice medicine. So we're excited about this conversation today and appreciate the opportunity to share.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. And last but certainly not the least, we have my friend Baljeet Gill. Baljeet is founder and chief operating officer at Talent Burst. Baljeet, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and Pankaj, thank you for inviting us to the panel. I'm honored to be sitting next to you, Natasha and Scott. And Natasha and Scott, congratulations. And as far as Talibus is concerned, like Pankaj said, I'm the founder and chief operating officer. We've been in business slightly over 22 years, providing total workforce management solutions. In terms of our service offerings, we do staffing and IT engineering, health and life sciences, a little bit of state and local government. We also provide high hazard payrolling and employer record, along with 1099 validation. Lastly, we are also a global payroll provider in over 90 countries, based out of Boston, with offices all over North America and internationally. Thank you, Pankaj.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. All right, let's start getting into the meat of the conversation today. And I'll just remind our audience again that please feel free to bombard the panelists today with questions. I think that is exactly what they're here for. They've probably told their story a dozen times, but if you can ask them questions around, hey, how do you do this? Or am I facing a certain challenge or what have you, it'll make the conversation that much richer. But I'm going to start by, first of all, congratulating all of you for being, one of SIA's best staffing firms to work for. It's a huge honor. But, when I look back at 2023, it was obviously a tough year for most of the staffing industry, for all of the staffing firms. Having said that, we did a 2023 State of Staffing Survey report, and we found out that 92% of the CEOs said that they expect their business to rebound and grow this year in 2024. So obviously the outlook for the industry is improving, but I'm just curious to find out from all of you on what expectations or needs are you seeing from your team that are shifting significantly, or what has happened in the industry in the last couple of years. So Scott, if you don't mind, we'll start with you.
Sure, absolutely. 4 key areas really that we're kind of hyper focused on, right? The first is upscaling and making sure that we're staying competitive with our tech stack, making sure that, there's an old, especially in the healthcare staffing industry, right? Where I live, speed leads, right? And you want to make sure that you don't lose the focus on quality, but you're able to deliver the clinician from the applicant status to the interview status to the start date, and make sure that you're executing in all that area. So again, making sure that our technology stack is right and it's set and it can rival that of the best in class in the industry. Again, as you said, it's a different market, it's a different time. Training and education is key. Making sure that that we have the right clinical training happening, we have the right technology and testing happening, making sure that we're becoming, and we love to use the word continuous learning organization, and we want to make sure that we're leveling up all of our employees on all fronts. The third is communication. You can't get around it. We're a global company. We have to make sure that we have people working at all hours of the day, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, and we want to make sure that we have the platform to communicate real time so that we can assess and deal with situations as they arise, and make sure that we can be not reactive but very proactive in our responses. And then the final is being a leading company, is we want to make sure that we can use the data to tell us where to go and how fast we need to go, right? So leveraging that data from a macro approach and a micro approach, making sure that we're getting it, we're analyzing it, and we're putting it in front from a transparency standpoint, so that when we are shifting focus and shifting directions, we are able to be transparent to our employees on why we're doing what we're doing. So again, those 4 key areas over the last 2 years for me is really four key components that we've been focused on.
Upskilling, speed. Okay, that sounds awesome. Bali, we'll get your perspective on it.
Sure. So, since COVID, I would say the business needs and the asks of the clients have changed, right? From being totally on-site, we all went remote. Literally under a week, we had to find ways to going remote and learning differently. And when you went remote, you have to adopt new ways of operating. From being in one place and being collaborative, now you're remote. Naturally, there's that sense of disconnect between employees, that they're feeling scared, not only from the pandemic, but everything shut down, what's going to happen next? So one of the things that we had to kind of do is go back to the basics. We kind of reinstilled and reinforced a sense of belonging. We made sure that we increased the face time with the staff because being on-site was collaborative, right? Collaborative is the main ethos of how we work, and that's what we have to remind people again. Don't go away from the basics, stick to the basics, and everything will be back to the normal. And obviously, you fast forward, this is the new normal.
Fair enough. Yeah, belonging, collaboration, super important. Natasha, how have the last 2 years changed the needs of your team?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is we've seen people really shift to really want purpose and want that connection. And maybe it's because of all the pandemic and all the uncertainty we all faced, or the fact that we have more people working remote than ever, and we're 90% remote. So we really have, this is a big part of us keeping our culture and keeping people really centered in our culture. So I think people really expect now and want to feel like their work matters and that they understand that purpose behind the work that they're doing. And that's been a big key for us.
Okay, awesome. Very important stuff here. We've heard about engagement, we've heard about speed, but at the same time, belonging, collaboration, having a sense of purpose. So thank you for sharing that. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit to, and I want to start with you this time, Bali. I mean, when you think about, a market that we're sort of living in, a very competitive market, there we are. Okay. So, when you think about, I mean, recruiting is still a very, very competitive market, right? I mean, you guys serve a number of different verticals. You have technology, you have healthcare, you have high hazard payroll. How do you figure out if the needs of the teams within your company are different? Like, how do you support your healthcare team differently from another teams? How do you navigate a competitive market, so to speak?
Well, that's a good question, Pankaj. I mean, recruiting it's same across the different verticals, different aspects that you look at. But if you look at every industry, they come up with their own challenges, and you have to find a way to counter them. Because Natasha and Scott are going to talk more about health and life sciences, I'll kind of take a step on the IT engineering side. So if you look at the financial services, technology, and engineering side of the business, right, the new ask of the clients is be on site, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Pre-COVID, everyone was on site, right? And the workforce is now kind of at times struggles with it. And we as staffing partners for our clients have to kind of keep reminding people that the clients asking them to be remote is nothing new. It's the old new. It's gone back to the same thing. And for the recruiting team, from a hiring perspective, we kind of have to reset the expectation of the recruiting team and said, all right, go back to the basics, start local, and then go national. Because during COVID, it didn't matter where you were. If you were working remotely, you could be in any part of the world and we could hire you. But now with the ask being local, start local, then go national. And it's just resetting expectations and working habits and bringing them back to normal. Like I said, this is the new old.
Got it. Scott, how about you?
Yeah. Well, again, the competitive space in which we live is knowing also where to help your employees be successful, right? So utilizing data, understanding what clients have needs, what we can do best to support that client, what in healthcare, what sectors are growing. Last year it was different than this year, and you just have to be very nimble and be able to change and shift strategies, I would say, and not be so rigid. So I think what we've done very, very well is we've picked up business because we've focused on different areas. We've been strategic with our clients. And so we've given our team success, maybe whereas we wouldn't have shifted, we wouldn't have been as nimble, we probably would have been struggling a little, in some of the areas that we were finding success last year.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I think what I was hearing was, it's very important to understand the needs of your customers. And then of course, everybody's expectations are, hey, COVID is over now. Let's get back to, what used to be, and you just have to navigate getting over there. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right. So the next topic I want to get into is just, we're obviously still living through certain, very uncertain times, right? I mean, there's been a challenge in healthcare. There are declining bill rates. There are declining sort of, traveling nurses, if you will. So I'm trying to understand what has been the secret for survival and growth and actually being named the best in the business for all of you. Natasha, maybe you can give us a primer into how you're a young company, but you seem to be doing well every single year. How have you sort of encountered this particular challenge?
Yeah, I think the biggest part for us has been our agility. We have been able to move very fast as an organization and respond to our clients in really relevant ways. And I think we all did that during the pandemic, but we've continued to do that. Like we are a fast moving organization, and that's really challenging to manage because not everyone can work at that pace. So it definitely stresses our resources. But we found our ability just to stay highly relevant and move quickly and be that agile. And maybe it's because we are a little younger, but hopefully we keep that key quality because it really allows us to, again, be highly relevant when it's needed, especially if you think about the healthcare landscape. So that would be my offering there.
Yeah, yeah. Does any one of you, I mean, I know of a few of our customers where they've actually decided to start a new line of business, not like something completely different, but just maybe a new line of business because they were like, hey, the business that we've been in is becoming a little bit more challenging. Has any of you thought about it or maybe done that?
Yeah, I'd just speak a little bit to that. Like we've leveraged the scale of our organization where we do support other lines. And so with our healthcare clients, we've had the privilege and the luxury of being very strategic with them to find where we can help support them in their current needs. Again, needs shift, and being able to tap into those needs and be strategic with your clients. It's helped us not only bring in new lines of business package, but it's helped us kind of expand that relationship with the client. So we now have become more strategic with them. So yes, we have done that, and we've done it with our clients as their needs have shifted. We've been able to shift with them.
Well, and I can also speak to that. We've offered new service offerings in the government space. We launched a federal division last year, trying to open that up. We've also been inundated with interesting projects. We had one large project when the Afghanistan refugees were being brought into the U.S., where we set up temporary hospitals in these bases across the country. And we put about 100 doctors on the ground in about 6 weeks. So it was a mammoth undertaking, really, really successful. And again, being willing, and that goes back to that speed and that agility, being willing to respond to those kinds of projects successfully has really been a key to our success.
Natasha, have you also been seeing declining bill rates in the industry, and have you had to make some changes to cope with that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it is what it is, and you just have to work with it. But we're constantly turning on new clients as well. We have a really aggressive business development team, and that's really helped us because we're bringing in new clients and new orders on a regular basis just to manage that. Because at some point, the bill rates that are good are going to get filled, right? So you have to constantly have an influx of good orders that are quality.
Got it. And Baljit, I was going to turn to you as well. I mean, from what I know about Talent Burst, you guys have sort of constantly been growing, through the pandemic, even before that. So certainly you guys are a case study in navigating uncertain times. Any sort of words of wisdom for us?
You're right, Pankaj. I mean, I'm going to echo what everyone said. The key for growing in any industry is you have to be nimble and you need to be able to pivot at the dime, right? When pandemic happened, we shut down, everything was shut down, we went remote. And we got a call from a client one evening saying, we need some people to kind of help sanitize our facilities. Trying to find people during COVID to go and sanitize facilities was a pain. And, because at this point of time, the nursing staff was actually doing that and it was burning it out, right? So I actually first had to kind of figure out what exactly is it that we're trying to sell to the candidates to have them go into the facility and start sanitizing. But I have to say my team kind of fell through with it. We pivoted literally on an overnight basis, and we ended up filling all those positions with those clients. So the ability to pivot and be nimble is going to be critical for growth in any market.
Yeah.
That is super interesting. You say that. It reminds me of a little story of ourselves. We work with the largest hospital chain in America, and one of the things we heard from their head of talent acquisition was that, hey, everybody keeps talking about nurses, and of course you need the nurses. But one of the number one reasons why nurses won't come to work at a facility is because the facility isn't well maintained. It isn't sanitized properly. So guess what? We need janitors and janitorial staff more than we need the nurses, or we're not going to be able to have that. And very few people understand that, and very few people are able to jump into saying, let me go fill that business, and then, my other business grows.
And Pankaj, if I can add to that, when we were doing that, the title that came was janitorial services. So I'm like, all right, my team's going to have a tough time selling this to people. So we need to come up with a new title. So we actually coined the title Day Porters for the janitorial staff.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. I'd say, one more thing on this too, Pankaj, is that one of the things that we found successful is our senior sales leadership across the globe connect and make sure that when we have any type of opportunities that we're kind of approaching them from a holistic approach, right? So we have some fantastic leaders and executors all across the globe, and we want to make sure that if they have an opportunity in the UK that has US presence or presence that has Australian presence, right? We're able to really communicate and elaborate and make sure that we can solve all their problems and not just one geographic area. And that's helped us as well.
Got it. We've got our first audience question. It's a little bit broad, but I'm going to throw it out at all of you anyway, because this is really what you're here for. This question is, can you all please share some strategies that you use to get new customers?
I can speak to that. I would say that hire a really good salesperson. I mean, honestly, you have to invest and pay them a lot of money, because if you hire a good salesperson and you pay them a lot of money, they will deliver for you. And don't allow a B player to stay on your team if they can't bring in the new contract. So you need aggressive sales folks, and they need to make really good money.
I'll second that.
Scott, seems like you agree with that.
I'll second that. I have the privilege and honor. I brought in the in my opinion, the best of the best, and she is fantastic. And just while we have, in the current climate, we have continued to load clients, add clients. And then again, I'll just give a shout out to you. And this whole, we signed on a client not more than a month ago just from being on this list. They called us. They said, hey, we want to work with firms that are considered best to work with. We know you guys handle this particular area. And it was the contract came over, went through contract review, and she was able to execute it and get it moving. So again, I think it goes to what kind of culture is from an interior side of your culture is gonna help you externally as well. But again, I second Natasha. Make sure that your face of your organization, the people out there bringing in the clients, they got to be A players.
And I can add to that, Scott, you celebrate your wins on social too. Like, we spend a lot of time and energy cultivating our social presence, celebrating those wins, talking about it. We email it out to our database on the regular basis. So to your point, Scott, people want to be aligned with winners. And again, when you have a great culture, you want to celebrate that and share that so that people align with you. So it's definitely a great strategy to do that.
Absolutely. If I can add to that, Pankaj, in addition to having the right salespeople, you also have to make sure that you're delivering on what your salespeople are promising. So make sure you've got a full life cycle engine that delivers on the promises the salespeople make, because if you're not able to deliver that, there's only so much a great salesperson can do by bringing in.
Yeah, so that's an interesting segue, and it wasn't part of our conversation today, but maybe the three of you can give us some insight into your delivery philosophy. I mean, do you guys have teams locally, offshore? I mean, what makes your teams tick? You obviously, if you're the best staffing firms to work for, people are only going to stay with a winning company, which means not only are you selling, you're also delivering. Maybe give us a little bit of an under the hood peek on what makes you special there.
So, yes, we are a globally spread company. Our delivery team is spread all over US, North America, and India. And I guess, one of the key aspects or attributes that I would say of my team is that all the recruiting staff that I hire, we make sure that they understand the industry, the vertical that they're supporting, so that they can have an intelligent conversation with the candidate. If that the first step of the conversation, the experience is not good, it's not going to work out. And having the right people there, and the other thing also is, if you find a good set of talent, whatever it takes, make sure you keep them. If you look at our recruiting team, or forget the recruiting team, the entire team, we have a lot of tenure with all our employees with us. So that kind of helps you bring in more talent, keep it with you, and just make sure you're hiring the right people. And like Natasha said, if you have a B player, don't keep the B player, only keep A players.
I
Awesome.
can jump in and add to that. I think one of the things that we do to deliver is we constantly communicate. So we've got a Teams chat with multiple channels. We've got the sales team chat, a company all chat, got different, secondary teams, but we communicate all day long. Every morning we get up on Teams and it's like, hey, let's go slay this day. Let's make it a great day. Let's go find the wins. And all day long, it's celebrating the small wins that lead to the bigger wins. It's high fives, it's shout outs. We encourage. We also have a separate platform called Endorse, who was developed by Rohan Walkar. He's an ENT surgeon and just a lovely person. And that is all just digital recognition. And so we have that going on as well, where people get to individually send shout outs and they just, again, recognition, praise, and communication really go a long way in making sure your team delivers on your brand promise. And so I would highly recommend that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. We're unique in that same manner as we have folks in the U.S. and folks offshore and working together, and we have a great VP of delivery, really doing a fantastic job to merge and again collaborate and communicate. So as we sit here, the teams is going nuts, right? Everybody's talking key jobs from client services. There's a constant leadership chat. There's constant communication, making sure we're swarming, we're attacking the right issues of the day, we're celebrating, we're encouraging, we're motivating. All those things happen as a good, healthy relationship between delivery and client services is extremely important. There's always going to be a little bit of a rub, but you got to make sure that rub is of good nature and it is embellishing and flourishing what the objective is. And so again, we have fantastic leadership, driving, again, awards and recognition. We do the organization outside of healthcare, even though the organization does a fantastic job of R&R, monthly, quarterly, and then annually. I had this past year, we do an annual Ignite, which is it's done in India, and bringing the organization together and seeing them celebrate. I think we gave out some 80 some different annual type of awards. The celebration, they roll out the red carpet. So again, I just say making sure that we're a people business, right? And making sure that the people feel rewarded and appreciated. And again, having standards.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. We got a follow-up question, but it came with a smiley. So you guys are welcome to take it seriously or welcome to not share the secret sauce. But somebody's gone really specific and said, hey, I'm a salesperson. As a salesperson, what is it that I need to do to get new clients?
Well, you gotta have, again, dedicated salespeople that are willing to eat the phone and willing to be aggressive and willing to pay attention to your industry segment, see who's moving and changing and who's growing or not, and follow those trends. But being willing to pick up the phone and really be aggressive with just asking for the business is a critical element to being successful in sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Ask the right questions. I think too many times we want to talk, and I think a lot of times if you can ask key critical questions, you're going to get them to open up. But again, there's the old adage is people want to deal with people that they like, and people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And people want to work with people they like. So be likable. I mean, I don't know. I had a mentor one time say, Scott, if I can give you any advice as when I was young, just be likable, right? Approach life, approach work, and be a likable person, and that's going to take you far.
And Scott, that's a great point you just made. Be likable and be thoughtful. Like I had a salesperson recently that decided to, out of the blue, just fly in for the in-person meeting versus the Zoom meeting. He brought donuts and gifts like socks that were branded. And so I was able to give the office gifts, and he was just a lovely person. He was thoughtful about his approach and thoughtful about his follow-up. And handwritten notes go a long way. Small, thoughtful gifts go a long way. So yeah, I mean, do things that people are going to, the things that they'll remember because you're being very thoughtful in your process, not just trying to get the sale.
Awesome. Thank you for that spirited discussion. With that, we're going to move on to another topic, which is, I think, going to be equally spirited, which is talking about internal and external tactics. And I know, Natasha, you guys have won awards on both sides of it, so it'll be a very interesting conversation for me. But Candidate experience has been at the top of everybody's mind. I mean, I know that from running a candidate experience company and how customers have talked to us for the last 3, 4, 5 years. But I'd love to hear, your guys' thoughts on the relationship between internal talent needs and recruiting and external. Like, are there differences in how you guys approach external talent versus internal hires? Whoever wants to take it first. Baljeet, how about you?
Sure. The way we see it at Talent is, right, that we have two sets of clients. We have a client who's paying us, and then we have a client who we are paying, basically the billable staff that is going to the client side. When they are at the client side, they are actually doing the work for whatever they've been hired, but additionally, they are doing marketing for us. They're an offset. They're our face at the client side. If you're not bringing in the right person to the client side, the client's not going to come back to us again and again for repeat work, right? And that's exactly what we instill on our team, is that find the right mix, find the right person who can represent us to our client effectively, accurately, and articulate themselves properly, so that next time the client has a need, they're not going out shopping, they're actually coming back to you and saying, hey, we like what this person does, get me similar people. And to find those people, you need to make sure that your internal staff also believes in the same principles, believes in the same thought process, right? So my ask on my internal talent acquisition team is to bring people who are like-minded and have the customer service philosophy. It's always customer first and you second. As long as they can bring that, they believe in it, they will attract the right kind of talent that we can then outlay to our clients. So it's two sets of clients, one that you pay and one who pays you. Take care of both and everything will work out great.
Awesome. I have several follow-ups on this, but we'll go around the panel first. Scott, how about you?
Yeah, well, I think your brand is going to say something, right? And who you allow to represent your brand and talk to your clients or in our space, the clinicians, that is their experience. And so we measure our experience we have a great employee relations team led by a great manager of operations. And so we're constantly getting feedback in multiple fashions, in multiple ways. We want to make sure that when we get that feedback, we're very transparent to the people that want to work with us, right? So we use all of those Google, Glassdoor, Vivian, Indeed, and then we publish our own data that we get through the survey mechanisms that we use. But again, constantly making sure we're evaluating what we say we do. We want to make sure that we're executing on that. From an internal perspective, again, our internal employees, some nearly 500 warriors across the globe, we want to make sure that we have different checkpoints throughout the hiring process, right? We want to make sure that we're bringing them in. And then once we make that hire and make that commitment, that there's different measuring sticks from our core values to our use of technology and in healthcare, that they could have the clinical 1.0 knowledge that they need to have to be able to represent us to a clinician. So we're very careful on all of these different things that we really track, measure, and execute on to make sure that the brand is being represented the way the early mission, right, of being that the best in class. So again, I think it kind of plays into both part and make sure that if you have somebody that you've deployed that doesn't represent the brand or your core values, it's the business is bigger than any one person. And so it's making sure that you never just try to hang on to that piece of revenue per se, because that one person is going to do more brand damage than any amount of revenue, right? So it's making sure that you're living the core values inside and outside.
Awesome. Natasha, maybe talk to us a little bit about your team's approach and how it differs for external versus internal hires.
Yeah, I think internally, we really spend a lot of time caring for people and making sure they feel cared for. Like it's definitely a part of our culture. We actually leverage our people's personal and professional network. We want them to bring friends and family to the company. We feel like that's a big compliment if they're willing to refer their best buddy from their last firm or their sister or their husband even. So we really embrace the fact that we want to leverage their network because good people know good people. And again, going back to that concept of caring, I think we do that on the external side as well as it relates to caring about their success. When we engage our physicians and these clinicians, we're talking about their career in medicine. We're talking about where they're choosing to work and where they're choosing to show up. And so we take it very seriously that we have an honor and a responsibility to do a good job and be a good steward of their career. So I think when you care about people across the board, they feel it. It shows up in your results and how you show up every day. And that makes a big difference in your success with them.
And externally?
Again, externally, when we engage a doctor, we want to bring thought leadership to the equation around what's going on in their marketplace that they're interested in, what's going on. We find out about what's going on in their career, what's driving their interest in looking at locums. Like, we really want to be thought leaders and care for them in the process, and genuinely show them that we care about their success, not just be transactional and put them in a job and hope it works out. Like, we really guide them through the process and develop a relationship. And we end up becoming buddies. I get texts all the time. I have a surgeon in Oklahoma, he'll just text me in the evening to say, see how we're doing and to thank me for his last travel experience. Like, I'm available, our entire leadership team is available so that we're all involved in this process of delivering on this idea of caring about them and their success.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Bali, one of my follow-ups to you was going to be, and I don't know how many people on our audience today work with MSPs, but I know you guys, do a lot of work with MSPs, and it's not really it's one of those environments where, there are lots of competition, where everybody gets the job at the same time, where you can only submit a certain amount of resumes. Do you maybe have some tactics on how you've grown within MSP accounts and have gone from, hey, we have 2 people working on this account to 200 people working, and what has been, some of your secret sauce there?
Yeah, so, on the MSP space, right, the joke that we have internally is it's an 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the jobs are filled by 20% of the suppliers. And that's not because they are, it's getting wired or something. It's just because their speed and accuracy and time to fill, right? So as long as, it goes back to the same thing, as long as you're delivering the right people to the MSPs and to the clients, you're going to keep getting repeat business. That's how you grow. You have to be agile, you have to have speed and accuracy in what you're doing, right? And if you look at the way the business grows, one MSP program manager leaves one client, goes to the other one. And if they're having challenges there, and if they know that, hey, when I was at this company, Talent really supported me in that, they're struggling with the supplier base, that the first phone call they're going to make, hey, I have a need here. Can you come back here? Can you help me come in this? So it goes back to the same thing in terms of the basics, that speed and accuracy. And I don't know which one is first or second. I look at both at the same time, that you have to be accurate in what you're submitting. You have to have the speed, and more importantly, stand behind the talent. Help the talent grow you, because that is how you will grow.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I see you talking about, obviously, long-term relationships. I mean, staffing in general is a small industry. Everybody that I deal with, I sort of see they've changed 10 jobs in the last 20 years, but those are all 10 staffing companies, and they're all still showing up at the same conferences and same events. So, obviously your brand and your reputation will go a long way, which obviously is one of my key takeaways from here.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, our last topic for the day is obviously my favorite, but I'll try and keep quiet and let you guys as experts do the talking, which is the role of technology. I mean, what role does technology play in setting you apart from the competition? I mean, a great tech stack can make all the difference, and I don't know how many stories I have about this where a little name company became like a major power because they actually use technology properly. But I'm going to throw this to all of you. Maybe Natasha, start with you this time.
I was about to say, companies like yours are a great example of creating success for us. You have to spend money and time and resources on getting best-in-class technology. If you don't, people are going to leave you behind, because it's changing so fast today. You have to spend the time and the money and the energy to understand how you put yourself in the best position, and technology plays a critical role in that. So I would encourage you to think about the staff you have involved in that part of your business, and really, again, invest in great people that are smart enough to go figure out stuff that maybe that you're not good at. Because that's like not my role. That's not my world. So I've got to go find those really smart people to hire that can help me do that.
Awesome. Scott, how about you?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the major role of technology, especially in our space, just over the last 2 years and how it's changed, right? I think what's key is, and I have a little bit of a tech background, but I think what's key is to make sure that you have a map and a technology map and make sure that you're strategic. You wouldn't imagine how many times people are investing in technology to find out that it just doesn't work together, right? And so now you have all of these. You've created such a swivel for your employees that they're not effective, right? So it goes hand in hand in making sure that you have the appropriate map, you have the appropriate the integrations, and making sure that you're accomplishing the end goal, which is to streamline the process, remove the friction, focus on the experience, and all those things matter. So again, I think you're already seeing a huge kind of disruption in the AI space and what AI is doing. And I think you will continue to see that. I think that there's, at last check, I think I read there's some 800 apps, happening every single day. It's crazy the amount of apps that are coming out. So again, I think it's that brand loyalty. It's building that whole ecosystem where your employees, your internal, and even the ones that you're putting in the field feel supported, encouraged, and that you're keeping up with the level of tech that they expect. Right? I always say, like 10 years ago, I didn't know what Amazon did. Now it's like I can't go a day without placing an order on Amazon, right? I mean, it's the level of dependency on technology and what you're going to need to have, from 2 years from now, I can't even imagine. So again, it's just kind of setting and charting that path and make sure that you're dealing with the experts in the space. And as my one mentor always said, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, just yesterday I was reading a Wall Street Journal article about how Amazon is now on the heels of Walmart, which is the Fortune 1 company, and about to sort of dethrone them. So, and obviously all of us think of Amazon as a technology company, whereas we think of Walmart as more of a retail place. So, the proof's in the pudding. Bali, you guys are a big tech shop, so, enlighten us a little bit.
Pankaj, as I was going to say, if you had not said that, I was going to say that if I can say so myself, we're a very technology forward company, but you said that. So thank you for the validation. You're right. We are a very tech forward company, and we dedicate a lot of time and resources of keeping a tech stack full of life, right? And honestly, the scale and size that we are at, I don't think we could do what we're doing or grow without relying on the tech stack for your day-to-day basic tasks and a lot of different things that we can do on, right? And a technology stack, I mean, it has to be a dedicated effort. It can't be like, okay, you saw this app, let's buy it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, you need to have right people in your company evaluating the technology stacks, deploying it, and more importantly, adopting it. If there is no adoption, you can put as much technology as you want, it's not going to work. And Pankaj, we've been using since you guys started, right? And the amount of journeys and engagements we do, and a lot of the stuff that Sense has done automatically for us, right? Whether surveys, whether it's reaching out to the candidates, whether it's reaching out to managers, finding out how their work is doing, how the managers feel the work is doing, what are the areas of improvement, all of the stuff, instead of someone picking the phone and trying to call, technology's kind of made it simpler. Right. And I think more importantly, what it is, if I can say it, it's a non-invasive way of getting work done, right? If I were to call you and get a feedback on somebody who's working for you, I need to first schedule the time, work through 56 calendars of yours and mine, and then figure this out. But through technology, through a survey that I'm sending out, which is totally customizable to the role, to the client, to the industry and the vertical that you're working on, and you can respond to it at your own free will. And I think that's really helped us a lot, has given us a lot of mileage. And more often than not, you kind of come ahead of a brewing problem that a manager may be seeing or a candidate may be seeing at a work site. So it kind of helps you in more than one ways that it can define. And everything, you can't put a dollar value to that. There's a lot to be said about the ease and the speed and the convenience that technology brings to you. So, we're obviously always looking at new stuff, trying to implement new stuff. And in everything that we do, technology is at the forefront. My mantra on that is that if you're doing the same thing every day, at least 8 or 10 times in a day, you need to find a way to automate that. You need to find a way to use technology to do that for you so that you can go and do the more important stuff.
Yeah, no, very well said. Very well said. I mean, we can talk about this all day long, and I'll add a couple of quick anecdotes here. I mean, obviously technology works differently for different industries, but we just have so many examples of, if you're a light industrial commercial staffing firm, there are companies that use Sense now that are automatically hiring people. You could hire 100 people over the weekend while your recruiters are sleeping by asking them 7 or 8 qualifying questions and going, great, you have the job, show us 2 forms of ID and you can go to work. If you're a healthcare staffing company, you're not going to have workers who work from 9 to 5. So they're not going to be only talking to recruiters while recruiters are available. If they need to talk to somebody at 7 p.m. or midnight, they talk to a chatbot, and the chatbot can schedule them with the right person. In IT staffing companies, we are seeing people using just QR codes to refer other people or friends who they work with, or just telling them, hey, I work in this group, but this group next to me has some needs, and I'm going to get a referral bonus for that. So just a lot of things that I grew up in the industry are now very much automated. So, technology certainly changed the game. It is democratized. What I was talking about in the beginning, when I was running staffing companies, we used to be so scared of these firms that had 50 account managers who can walk the halls and collect all this information, and we don't have that kind of firepower. But now all of that information is actually coming to us, and coming to us much faster than any account manager can get it, because somebody from the ground is feeding it back to us. Now, I'd love to keep talking technology, but we've gotten a ton of questions. Okay, so I'm going to go through them really quickly. And just for the sake of everybody in the audience, I was also going to save some time at the end to ask all of our thought leaders here for one piece of advice. We'll come to that in a couple of minutes. Let me go through some of these questions we've already gotten. We won't turn that to all 3 of you, but anybody can answer that. One is, what's your favorite job portal /ATS? Yeah, I'm not sure if Sense does the same. Sense isn't an ATS, so we should just make that clear. But I don't know if anybody has any strong thoughts on what's their favorite ATS.
So I can take that, Pankaj. We've been using JobDiva since 2009, and we're a heavy user of JobDiva, and I think the reason it also makes it the ATS and the system of record for choice is that it integrates very beautifully with everything. Like Sense is completely integrated inside of JobDiva, and you can even tell which platform you're on. And that's what is critical for any ATS that you pick. You need to make sure that it communicates with the tools that you have in your technology stack, and integrates seamlessly, so that the flow of information is accurate in every place.
Awesome. We've got a 2-part question. How has your tech stack improved remote work capabilities for your staff? And secondly, and what tools do you use to facilitate internal communication and collaboration among your team members?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll piggyback on the first question, because I don't want my friends at Labor Edge to feel like I didn't mention their ATS, because I'm a big fan, heavy user, super user, and we have made a commitment to them in our healthcare space, and I think they're on the cutting edge and leading edge to that. And that also ties into this. How does it help us communicate? I would tell you, before we started within the platform, the communication was everything was happening outside the platform, right? Which makes it very difficult. You're toggling, you're losing communication. Is now within that platform, it's kind of the center of our universe, right? We're able to put all of the conversations exactly real time where they need to be on a submission, not an application, on an active care provider, right? We have all of these areas of direct interaction. So it doesn't matter where I sit, the engagement and the collaboration is happening within the system, and it's one system. We're heavy users of Teams. As we spoke earlier, Natasha was speaking, how do we make sure that we stay in touch and communicate and encourage one another? Again, putting out some of we have the certain operating functions within Labor Edge, but there's the way kind of drop in a Teams message to the super users on focus and interest, or redeployment, or hot opportunities, exclusive opportunities, you name it. There's a lot of communication happening, and so I believe if you're not in a 2-monitor system, right? I don't know how you operate in today's world, right? So I know my son, who is extremely tech driven, has 3 monitors, and that's a little too crazy for me. but I'm definitely a 2-monitor guy, right? So.
Well, I would
Awesome.
second that, Scott. I think we've migrated to 3 monitors now just because they've got multiple channels going. And again, going back to the remote piece and communication, you just can't have enough. Like, create a culture where you're expected to communicate with each other and be responsive and stay on those Teams channels and keep everyone aware of, hot opportunities and what's changing, because everything's changing so fast and we're all like doing multiple things. You're on our phone, we're, on the computer, like, you need to over communicate and communicate clearly so that people know what the focus is, because it's really easy to get lost in a lot of that noise. So just over communicate and create those standards of communication.
Okay, awesome. We've got another question. Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives that the leaders are excited about that can be shared with us?
I think we just want to keep winning best places to work.
Yeah.
All right.
For us, what's next on our tech stack is Sense, and we're not a current Sense user, and in a previous life, I've been privileged to use the technology, and I think there's a lot of huge opportunities. We look to continue down the path of scaling and growing in the use of Sense is a project that I'm real excited about.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to club the next question that came from the audience with the question that you see on the screen. So, because these are both thought leadership questions, but the question we got from the audience is, how do each of the leaders see the staffing industry evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And how is your company preparing for these changes?
I would offer that we're just going to continue to grow the flexible work staffing. Having people that you can infuse flexible staffing into your model is an asset for any organization. So I think we're going to continue to grow. And I think how you prepare is that you constantly have your eye open for talent, because you're going to need great people to help you continue to grow and keep up with that pace. That's going to be a key asset in the future.
I would say, Pankaj, is that, the market is growing. There's a lot of business to be done. And in addition to whatever you're doing, you need to make sure that you're investing more and more on technology and finding ways to automate, right? I mean, one of the things that we're doing right now is automating the complete recruitment cycle, using voice automation, right from finding the candidate to onboarding and the candidate starting. And, that's going to add speed, that's going to add accuracy, and again, it's going to give that edge to you that you need to keep growing in this demanding market.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just going to add to that, the amount of technology that's just coming into the space and what it's able to do, right? I mean, the ability to take your most qualified candidates, the hottest, least applied for jobs, and the whole process of putting your people in the right place at the right time, right? 2 years ago, it wasn't that hard because there was a lot of things you could catch. But now it's all about being very strategic and putting your people in what I call the percentages of success, right? And if you could put your people in the percentage of success, number one, you're going to have a happy employee because they're going to be successful. Number two, you're going to service your clients to the best of your ability. So that's what I think is happening, is the convergence of technology to do that, but you can't operate without great people. So you got to continue to put the best in class people into the team and then put them into the areas to be successful with the current expansion and investment in technology.
Yeah, and I'll add my 2 cents as well. Since you guys, since this audience person asked about the next 5 to 10 years, I will tell you that this is an industry that is going to be completely disrupted by AI. We're already starting to talk about it, but in the next 5 to 10 years, you are going to be seeing a number of roles that are being filled completely automatically by AI, a number of tasks that are being done by AI. So as a company, I think everybody is going to have to prepare to reinvent themselves. The companies are going to look completely different. The kind of people you hire internally are going to look different. The roles they're going to do are going to look different. I don't think you're going to have as much internal staff. This is not just me predicting some doom and gloom. This is essentially what is happening with companies today. We've heard of customers today who tell us that they've decreased their recruiting staff by 20%, but they're still doing the same amount of placements and actually making more EBITDA margin. Anyway, we've got less than a minute left. So, we always try and finish on time. So I'll first move on to this next slide so I can thank all of my panelists. But at the same time, If any of you want to add a little nugget around one piece of advice or one thing a staffing firm can do to become a best place to work, please shout it out really quickly, 10 seconds each.
I would just say, publish that you want to be a best place to work, ask for feedback, ask for people to tell you where your gaps are, and take action and improve on those gaps, because it's available to you if you're willing to publicly claim it and make it happen.
Awesome.
I'll say, keep your ear to the ground, hear what is said, and more importantly, hear the unsaid.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would just quote my most favorite leadership guy, John Maxwell, and he says, people do what they see. So to align the culture, you got to be the culture.
Awesome. All, very, very nicely said words. Thank you so much, Scott, Natasha, and Baljeet. Can't thank you guys enough for your time. I will also tell you that very few companies are willing to share their secret sauce. Staffing is a very competitive market. So thank you also for being open to giving people a little bit of a peek inside how your companies run and function. We really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody who decided to spend the time with us today. Like I said, this recording and this deck will be shared afterwards. And please feel free to reach out to any of our thought leaders or to us at Sense. We're easy to find if there is anything we can help with. But with that, thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.